Welcome to the channel. Here are 30 mind-blowing facts that you didn't know. Fact 1. Measles. Measles infection causes immune amnesia. When a person contracts measles, the virus doesn't just cause temporary illness, it actually wipes out part of the immune system's memory. That means the body may forget how to fight off infections it had previously learned to recognize and attack, like the flu, strep, or even pneumonia. Measles can erase 20 to 70% of a person's protective antibodies, leaving them vulnerable to other diseases. The immune system has to rebuild its memory over time, almost like starting from scratch. Fact 2. Dune. Frank Herbert's Dune was famously rejected by more than 20 publishers before it was finally accepted by Chilton Books in 1965. What's especially fascinating is that Chilton was mostly known for publishing car repair manuals, not science fiction novels. The editor at Chilton took a chance on Dune, and it turned out to be one of the most iconic and influential sci-fi novels of all time. Talk about an underdog story. Fact 3 about First Lady Grace Coolidge. She acquired a pet raccoon that was initially meant to be eaten for Thanksgiving at the White House in 1926. Rather than becoming the main course, the raccoon became the official White House raccoon and was named Rebecca. Rebecca was given a collar, allowed to roam the grounds, and even participated in the White House Easter egg roll. Fact 4 about diapers in Japan. More diapers are now sold for elderly people than for babies, reflecting the country's aging population and declining birth rates. Japan has one of the world's oldest populations, with nearly 30% of its citizens aged 65 or older. In 2023, the country recorded only 758,631 births, the lowest since records began in the 1800s. Fact 5 about the Get Out and Push Railroad. In the early days of rail transport, there was a railroad in California where passengers were required to get out and push the train up steep hills due to inadequate engine power. This line was known as the Wilmington and Long Beach Rapid Transit Railroad, but it earned the nickname Get Out and Push Railroad because of its underpowered locomotives. Fact 6. Eating rice. 80% of the rice consumed by the United States is produced domestically. Rice was historically one of the cash crops of colonial America in several of the southern colonies. The U.S. rice industry produces about 20 billion pounds of rice annually, harvested from approximately 2.8 million acres across 6 major rice-producing states: Arkansas, California, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, and Texas. Fact 7. The rare condor. A condor score in golf, which is -4 under par. A condor would be a hole-in-one on a par 5, a 2 on a par 6, or a 3 on a par 7. It's one of golf's rarest and most mind-blowing feats. As of April 2025, only 6 condors have ever been recorded in history. Modern golf as we know it originated in Scotland in the 15th century, with the first written record in 1457, when King James II actually banned it because it was distracting people from archery practice. So, when we say only 6 condors have been recorded in history, we're talking about over 500 years of golf history, though reliable record-keeping really began in the late 19th to early 20th century. Fact 8. Triathlete screenwriter. Triathlete and screenwriter Leslie Patterson dedicated her race winnings to maintaining the film rights to one of her favorite books. She almost lost them in 2015 until competing and winning with a broken shoulder. It took 16 years and $200,000, but she eventually made All Quiet on the Western Front in 2022. Fact 9. Supercomputer versus smartphone. Modern smartphones have 5,000 times the processing power than the most powerful supercomputer in the world in the 1980s. Back then, one of the most powerful supercomputers was the Cray 2, which debuted in 1985. It could reach speeds of 1.9 gigaflops. In comparison, modern smartphones like the iPhone 15 Pro or high-end Androids with chips like the Apple A17 Pro or Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 are capable of 10 to 15 teraflops. Fact 10. Toe wrestling. Toe wrestling is an unusual but serious sport that originated in the UK in 1974. It's similar to arm wrestling, but instead of hands, opponents lock big toes and attempt to pin the other person's foot to the ground. The annual World Toe Wrestling Championship takes place at Ye Olde Royal Oak Inn in Wetton, Staffordshire, every June 26th. Players compete barefoot, and before matches begin, officials inspect competitors' feet to ensure fairness. There are both men's and women's divisions, and competitors take on best-of-3 matches using their right and left feet. The reigning champion for years was Alan Nasty Nash, an 18-time champion known for his dominating toe strength until he was defeated by current champion Ben Total Destruction Woodruff. Fact 11. Cover yourself. After Drew Barrymore posed nude for Playboy in 1995, her godfather, Steven Spielberg, sent her a note saying, "Cover yourself up," along with a quilt and a copy of the magazine with the photos digitally altered to make her appear fully clothed. Fact 12. Widely spoken. Portuguese is the most spoken language in the Southern Hemisphere, primarily due to the large population of Brazil, which is the largest country in South America. Brazil is home to about 211 million people, and Portuguese is the official language, making it the most widely spoken language in the Southern Hemisphere. Fact 13. Height surgery. Height surgery is a thing. Also known as limb lengthening surgery, it involves breaking the bones and inserting adjustable rods or nails. Over time, these devices are gradually lengthened, encouraging new bone growth in the gap. Recovery can take 6 months to a year, and it can cost anywhere from $75,000 to over $150,000 depending on the country and the amount of height gained. Despite all of this, demand for the procedure is growing, and men are willing to endure to gain 2 to 6 inches in height. Fact 14. Shrek 2. Mike Myers, Eddie Murphy, and Cameron Diaz negotiated an upfront payment of $10 million each for voicing the sequel to Shrek, which was released in 2001. This was an increase from the $350,000 each received for the first film. Also, the 3 actors were expected to each work between 15 to 18 hours in total on Shrek 2. Fact 15. Nissan was losing money for 8 straight years until Carlos Ghosn made it profitable in just 3, after vowing at the Tokyo Auto Show that the entire executive team would resign if he failed. Under his leadership, Nissan returned to profitability in 2001, a full year ahead of schedule. Carlos Ghosn became a business icon in Japan, even inspiring manga comics and books. However, his later years were marred by controversies and legal issues related to financial misconduct, but that's a whole other story. Fact 16. Weird Al Yankovic doesn't need permission under US copyright law to make a parody of someone's song. Weird Al always asks for permission anyway, as a matter of personal ethics and respect. He believes in keeping good relationships with the artists, even if he has the legal right to parody their work without asking, and that's one of the reasons Weird Al is so widely respected in the music industry. Fact 17. Every October, paranormal enthusiasts across the country participate in the world's largest ghost hunt, where they investigate haunted locations for the chance to make contact with the supernatural. Fact 18. Medieval cathedrals. Medieval cathedral exteriors were originally painted in vibrant colors. What we see today as bare stone or faded carvings was once richly colored and decorated, a practice known as polychromy. The paint wore away over centuries due to rain, wind, and sun. Also, later generations, especially during the Renaissance and Enlightenment, preferred the noble simplicity of bare stone and sometimes even deliberately removed paint to match the aesthetic ideals of the time. Fact 19. Salad stacking. Salad stacking, also jokingly referred to as salad engineering, became a hilarious and ingenious response to Pizza Hut China's one trip to the salad bar rule during the 2000s. In many Chinese Pizza Huts, the salad bar came with a catch. You could only make one trip using a small bowl. So customers got creative, devising ways to stack ingredients vertically, often reaching absurd heights to maximize value. Online forums and blogs shared stacking tutorials, recommending heavy base items like cucumbers or carrots for a solid foundation, and using lettuce to form walls. Fact 20. Hydraulic crane. In 1846, William Armstrong invented the hydraulic crane, using pressurized water instead of steam. First used at Newcastle docks, it boosted efficiency and led to the hydraulic accumulator, technology that laid the groundwork for modern hydraulic systems. Armstrong's work laid the foundation for modern hydraulic systems, which are now essential in everything from construction equipment and aircraft to factory automation. Fact 21. Mental radio. Albert Einstein wrote a preface to the German edition of Upton Sinclair's 1930 book, Mental Radio, which explores telepathy and the author's experiments in psychic communication with his wife. He wrote that the book deserves the most earnest consideration from psychologists. Published in 1930, the book documents telepathic experiments where Mary, often blindfolded or isolated, attempted to reproduce drawings or thoughts being mentally sent to her. Fact 22. Klepetan. Between 2001 and 2021, a stork named Klepetan would fly every year from South Africa to Croatia to mate with another stork, Milena. Milena could no longer fly due to a gunshot injury. Klepetan would hunt, build her nests, and feed her chicks. Milena died in 2021 of old age. Fact 23. Good Will Hunting. Good Will Hunting was only able to film on location at Harvard after alumnus John Lithgow intervened. Harvard had initially denied the movie access to film on its campus. However, Lithgow asked the movie's location manager what he wanted and then made a phone call which ultimately delivered it. Fact 24. Naming America. The Americas were named after the Italian explorer Amerigo Vespucci, thanks to German mapmakers. Christopher Columbus had reached the New World first in 1492, but he believed he had found a new route to Asia. Vespucci's writings convinced scholars that this was, in fact, a new continent, which led to the naming honor. Fact 25. Stolen generations. Until the 1970s, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander children in Australia were systematically taken from their families, known as the stolen generations. The removals were part of an official government policy aimed at assimilating Indigenous children into white society, erasing Indigenous cultures, and training children for domestic or labor roles within white households. In 1997, the landmark Bringing Them Home report documented the policy's devastating impact. Fact 26. Pension waiting. In 1878, U.S. Supreme Court Justice Ward Hunt suffered a stroke which thereafter left him unable to either attend court sessions or to render opinions. Yet he refused to resign for another 4 years, his sole reason being to stay long enough to claim his pension. Fact 27. Singing sun. The sun sings, but not in a way we can hear with our ears. The sun produces acoustic waves, or pressure waves, created by turbulence and convection in its outer layers, similar to how boiling water bubbles. These waves bounce around inside the sun, creating resonances, essentially the sun's version of music. You may be wondering why we can't hear the sun singing. Since space is a vacuum, meaning there's no air or particles to carry sound waves, so even though the sun sings, there's no medium for the sound to travel through to us. Fact 28. Dueling pianos. Beethoven was challenged to a piano duel by famous pianist and composer Daniel Steibelt, who tried to bend the rules by handing Beethoven a cello and piano piece instead of just a piano piece. Unfazed, Beethoven turned the score upside down, played it, then improvised on the inverse themes for half an hour. Fact 29. Messages. In the 1790s, France had a network of signaling towers that could send messages by writing symbols using giant mechanical arms on towers. They could send complex messages across the entire country in about 1 hour. These were precursors to electric telegraphs. Fact 30. Automat. The first self-serve restaurant opened in 1896. It consisted mostly of vending machines. The first automat opened in Berlin, Germany, in 1895 by Max Seeloff and was called the Kisisana Automat. In the United States, the first and most famous automat was opened by Horn and Hardart in Philadelphia in 1902, with their New York City location opening in 1912. Thank you for watching our video. We hope you enjoyed these fascinating facts. If you did, please give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more intriguing content. See you in the next video.